Paul, do you mind turning off the front lights for me? Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Have your calculators ready? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna maybe just review one part here. So when it's a table, you're given the original, and then I chose to start with the top here. I did not know what the scale factor was, right? That's basically your first focus is to try to find a scale factor. And so in order to get the scale factor, I noticed that I had linear dimensions for both of these shapes. So I just went, radius of new divided by radius of original, and that gave me the scale factor. Next, I went to this one here. I was also missing the scale factor. So how did I find the scale factor? I noticed that I was able to determine both of the areas, right, or surface areas, I should say, because the sphere, right, surface area. So that meant I had to use this formula. So what that ultimately means is that if you plug in the values in the right place, you just square root that, and then you get your scale factor that way. And once you have your scale factor, you can travel to any other empty boxes and fill that in by using k, right? K times the radius of original in this case. This is already known. What will I put in here? How will I find the volume of this new one? How will I do that? I need a brave volunteer to tell me how would I fill this in. I'm going to pause the video so it's not such a long break in there, right? K cubed times volume of original. That's how you would find it. So my K is 6 over 10, right? It's 6 over 10 or 0.6 times, this is the volume of the original, inches cubed. So my answer is going to be in cubed inches as well. Okay. And so here we go. I get, let me just check my key here, probably be faster. I get 381.70. That's what I get. I'm going to double check that. So 0.6 to the power of 3, right, times 1767.15, and there it is, 381.70 cubic inches. Does it make sense? Yes, because we know that K is less than 1, so this shape is a reduction of the original, right? So we would expect a smaller volume there. Okay? All right. You know what? I'm going to pause there. From what I'm seeing here, this is blank for you, and that's all right. I don't think I assigned this, or maybe I did. Can you try to fill in? So assume that you're sitting on your quiz or test right now, and you're trying to fill that in. How would you do that based on, it's basically an open book test right now. Would you be able to fill in these boxes here? Use a pencil and try to show the work that you had to do to fill this in. And if you're done everything, just wait for us a little bit, but I want you to give this a try. Okay, fill that in, and I'll take it back in a couple minutes. Okay, guys, so what I need to see that. All right, so number 4, remember that's a new one. You forget about all the other new ones. Now it's just between these two. You've got your scale factor, it's greater than 1, right? We could also say 125%. 25% greater, right? The dimensions are 25% greater. So to find the area, we just go, I'm just going to fast forward here, right? Square that, and then multiply it by 706.86 squared inches. And that gives you 1104.47 squared inches, okay? And then for the volume, you take the scale factor and just multiply it by your previous volume. I wanted to put a dollar sign, I don't know why. Anyways, 34, 51, 46 cubic inches for that one. We're doing all right? So once you have the scale factor, it's easy. So it's K this, K this, K, 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 right? Yeah, you got it. It's finding the scale factor that is probably a bit more challenging. So last but not least, this one is probably the most difficult because you have to cube root in this case. So new, right? The new, and I'm creating this one. So I'm going back to the original and that one now. And I scan, right? I don't have the scale factor. That's worth noting. Don't have both. Don't have both. I do have both volumes, right? I do have them. So I need to use this one. K cubed is volume of new over volume of original. And I'll probably run out of space here, but here we go. So the new one is 27, 611, 65 over 1767, 15. They're both cubic inches, so I'll just leave it like that. Sorry, I'll make sure I have the K cubed there. And then my red pen, right? You need to make sure you cube root in this case. So square rooting or cube rooting is when you're trying to find the scale factor. Okay, that's when you do that. That's when I'm going to find K. And again, it's very important that you enter things correctly. This calculator is powerful, but only to the degree to which you are able to use it, right? Your knowledge of it. So this is how I usually do it. I divide like that, and then I go math 4. I just press number 4, or you scroll down to that fourth option, and then I go up to copy that previous answer, copy paste, and that's 2.5 effectively, right? If you round it to 2 decimals, 2.5, 2.499, which is 2.5. You can try getting it into a fraction. Remember that, right? If you go math and just the first option, right, and enter, it can't, right? So if it can't, then I'll just give you back the decimal. Okay, let's move on to the rest here. You decide if you want to go here. It's just going to be K times radius of the original. So this is just 2.5 times the radius of the original. And that's 18.75 inches. This one is just going to be K squared times area of original. All right? Did I tell you about the mermaid joke? Did I tell that one yesterday? What do mermaids clean their fins with? Tide. Anyways, let's move on. Tide the detergent, or Tide ocean tides. Get it? It's early, right? Just stick to math, Mr. Dixon. Just stick to math. There we go. 44.1788 squared inches. And you're done. You fill this in. Guaranteed one of these on the test. A table is going to be on there. Not even going to pretend to surprise you. There's going to be one. So probably worth 4 marks. So be ready for it. If you were comfortable with what I did today, you'll be fine, right? This is all the one thing I'm going to tell you, because when I do these, it messes with students sometimes. I cross out certain boxes, meaning I don't want you to fill them in. Some students are like, I studied how to fill in the whole thing, so I'm just going to do it, right? I might just ask you, for example, on this first shape, I might just ask you to find the scale factor, done. And then I might go to the second one, I just want you to find, right? Like, so just fill in what I'm asking you to fill in, not the whole thing, because it takes a long time to fill in the whole thing. All right, so let's do the test checklist before I continue with more fun stuff. I'm just going to get you to go to the back somewhere. There's some blank pages there in case, just in case I think of something. Or so page 58, that's where I'm going. Anywhere in the back is fine. Okay, so test checklist. So you must know, right? Conversions, right? Rates should be on study sheet. You don't have to write that down if you have them, right? I'm just letting you know. Conversions, and within this is convert between units. Another one would be convert rates, right? So this would be, you go from feet to, let's say, centimeters. This would be 5 gallon per hour to, let's say, liters per minute. Right? You're simultaneously converting two things, right? You're doing two in one shot, so it's a bit longer. So converting rates. Solve problems, right? Solve problems using proportional reasoning, right? Example, if you travel 60 kilometers an hour, comma, then how far in 4.5 hours, let's say. Right? Something like that is a dead giveaway for proportions, right? There might be some conversion needed before. It might ask you how many miles in 4.5 hours. Don't worry about it, right? Like, you know how to convert kilometers to miles, so you might want to just figure out how many kilometers first, then convert it to miles. So it's all kind of blended together. Determine the best buy. Okay. So basically, find unit rates. So example, right? It's $10 for 2 pounds of something, or $20 for 5 pounds. Which one is better? Which one is better? Don't just say this one or that one. You do the work, right? This one would be, if you go 10 divided by 2, it's $5 a pound. This is what we call the unit rate. Look in your notes. I showed you how to do unit rates. You basically just go top divided by bottom. And dollars should always go on top. Sometimes I have students have the dollars at the bottom and it doesn't say the same thing. Okay, it's actually not saying the same thing. And this one would be 20 divided by 5. This one would be $4 a pound. Right, this is also a unit rate. So sometimes one of them is already as a unit rate. Sometimes you have to convert them to a unit rate. Which one is better? 4, right? This one is better. Better by $1 a pound in this case. Mr. Jackson, can you just make them like that? Just nice and round numbers, please. No rounding. I won't promise, right? So you need to be able to do that. Also with speed, what have you. And you should also be able to answer the question now, okay? If you go with this one, how many pounds can you buy with $100? Right? That would, now I'm turning that into a proportion, right? So don't be scared of it. Just know it's like, oh, I know that this is true, so I'm just going to set up a proportion and figure out what it is on the long run. Okay, so you need to be able to do that. Oh yeah, fuel economy. Almost forgot about that. I'm going to make that a separate bullet. What happened with fuel economy? You remember that? I butchered the formula, like one of the first lessons. I already made a mistake there. Do you have that on your study sheet? Okay, so what was on top? Liters, is that what you all have? Liters divided by kilometers, right? Okay, so I'm gonna make sure you all changed it. Okay, liters over kilometers times 100. This is your formula, right? So if you were to just go liters divided by kilometers, you would find out how many liters are needed to travel 1 kilometer. And usually it's a very small number. So we multiply it by 100 to make it easier to work with. So your answer, right, would be liters per 100 kilometers. Like when you compute this, that's what you find out. Okay. So the one that uses the fewest liters is the better one in this case. You need to be comfortable with renos. I'm going to ask you to do one right after this. Renovations, right? What should I mention here that's important? Follow steps, right? Follow steps, right? Determine surface area that needs to be painted, right? And by that I mean subtract windows and doors. You should have an AC on that, right? We did an AC on Renos. So you got to subtract any windows and doors. Is the ceiling involved? Is the ceiling not being painted, right? Stuff like that you need to watch out. Then you need to figure out how many coats, right? Is it 1 coat? No problem, just use your surface area. 2 coats, multiply the surface area by 2 first, right? 3 coats times 3 and so forth. Then you figure out cans, boxes, etc. You figure out like how many do I need to buy? How many do I need to buy? And then cost, right? Multiply by 1.12 or 1.05, depending on what is asked. Like I'll be very specific, only GST, only 5%, right? And you know it's 1.05. If it says just taxes, then you just assume it's 12%, so times 1.12. So make sure you know how to do that. And last but not least, scale factors. I'm gonna leave out scale diagrams. Just not gonna have it on. I want you to focus on everything else, especially for grade 12. Like everything else is important. So scale factors, right? Remember 1D, 2D, 3D. Just remember that. And I'll just say oops, area of new, area of original. K cubed is volume of new, volume of original. Remember, I did say diagram actual, right? Like that is still a goal, but I'm just right now, this is a review, right? Just a little. And remember, the questions will give you 2 out of the 3. How many? 2 out of the 3, right? You need 2 out of 3. So if they give you both, like let's say lengths, easy to find a scale factor, right? That's what they're asking you for. Just divide and multiply by 100 if you need the percentage, or just divide. You might have to convert to cancel out units, right? Like I'll just say star, right? may need to convert to cancel units. Know when I ask you like how much bigger are the dimensions of the first one compared to the second one? Well, if it's bigger than 100%, then subtract 100 from it so you know how much bigger it is. Or if it's smaller, then you should go 100 minus whatever the percentage was, so to know how much it has been reduced by. Okay, let's just go 59 here, because it's going to stay up. So let's say you want to study down the road. I'm just going to say see Google Classroom posting for September 19th, right? For review material. So if you go to yesterday's posting, there are a bunch of keys all over your booklet, so you know where you're at, right? No scale diagrams. Maybe write that for yourselves, like on the previous page or somewhere in here. It's like no scale diagrams. Don't have to worry about that. Okay. All right. Go to page 20. I'm just gonna go over it. I'm gonna have to. I can't do the whole thing from scratch. I don't think I'll have enough time to do so. Paul, do you mind turning off the front lights for me? And it's gonna be. I'm gonna update it one more time and scan it. But here it is. So if it's in a regular room, this formula should be on your study sheet. Right, the surface area of wall is just the perimeter of this room times its height, the height of the walls. That gives you 1,080 square feet. I need to subtract any windows and doors or closet doors, you name it. Whatever I mentioned that you know it's not going to need a coat of paint, you take that away. And so you end up with a paintable surface of 948 square feet, right? So that would be definitely what I would be looking for. Probably in this case, 2 marks. And then for B, it's asking for the cost of primer and paint. And yes, I agree, it's a bit tricky because for primer, I only need 1 coat, so you don't need to multiply it by anything other than 1, right? And then you divide it by the square footage that it covers, and that's 5 cans. I made a mistake. I put down 1,080, even though I clearly tell everyone it's 948. So I think I need more sleep. I think that's what it is. I'm gonna work on that. That's why I like to post the whole answer key, not just the answers, because you can probably often figure out, it's like, right, made a mistake. So you probably enjoy that. Go for it. I will never be offended if you tell me I made a mistake. 5 times 65, it's 325, right? And then I go to the paint. You need to, I'm gonna highlight that. You need to do this before you attempt to figure out anything else like the cost or cans or anything like that. How many coats are being applied? And it's 3. So it's as if you're painting this much, right? You divide it by 220, which in turn gives you about 13 cans. I like the intermediate step. Like what is it as a decimal and then approximately 13. And that amounts to 1,040 according to my sources. Yeah, 1,040. And then what I did is I just combined them, figure this out, and then add taxes to it to give me this, okay? You can score a significant amount of marks if you just show me your steps, all right? You might lose some at the beginning, but then everything else flows from there. Next, so that's the paint and the primer. That's pretty standard. What else did I do? The flooring one. What happened there? Some of you were asking me, can I do this or that? Sure. Some of you like to subtract, like you kind of, hey, can I go 35 times 25 and then subtract this little chunk here? Absolutely. That's called indirect reasoning. Indirect. Direct reasoning is where you go find what you need and add. So I kind of broke this room into two pieces. I added I went A1 plus A2. I found the areas of the two rectangles, 763 square feet. And watch, this is a little tricky. First, I find out how many planks, because one plank covers this much square feet. So I figure out, right, that I need approximately 354.8 something planks. Don't round just yet, because then I divide it by 8 planks, because that's how many are in a box. You can use a proportional reasoning method here if you want, right? One box has 8 planks, X boxes has 354.8 planks. And then it's 44.36, which amounts to 45 boxes, not 8 boxes like my key was saying. Somehow 354 divided by 8 amounts to 8 in my key. So I'm going to have to rescan that. It's 45 boxes. And then you figure out your cost, which is 3,250 after tax. And then this one, I ran out of space. Quite frankly, I ran out of space. But for the trim, I just go 120 and 120. And then I'll just subtract the 2 doors, right? The width of the doors. Because I don't need trim for the 2 doors that I have in this room, for example, right? You don't need to have trim along the width. So you end up with 231 feet. I divide 231 by 8. Why is that? Because every trim piece comes in 8-foot lengths. So that amounts to approximately 29 pieces. 29 pieces times 50. Add the taxes, that's 1624. Okay. There you have it. If there was labor involved, if I said, you know, the store charges $1.50 per foot, only GST, then you'd still do the same thing, 231 times 150 times 1.05 to add the GST. Okay, that's all I have. If you look for the key, the back of the book, I haven't assigned or had done a key yet. I'm gonna have to key that and post it. So if you're interested in more, I will post that. There's 3 reviews that are out. If you want more table review, right? How to do the tables and how to do scale factors and stuff, just look for that. Okay. Thank you guys.